Hi, I'm Nicole from You Uncluttered, and if you are struggling with clutter, you're not alone. I struggled with clutter for years and years, and it wasn't until I implemented a few simple strategies that helped me start to calm the chaos in my home. And these strategies were simple, they were small, but they added up over time. You will amaze yourself on how quickly you can actually make change with just little tweaks. So let's get started. Okay, the first thing you need to do, and I know you probably don't want to hear this, is reduce the number of possessions that you have. It's all about decluttering, and I know it feels overwhelming at times. If you can reduce the number of things that you have, it's easier to then manage the stuff you do have. If you have so many things that you don't have space to move or store things properly, you'll never win the battle against clutter. You have to just take a hard look at the things you have around you. Do you love the things that you have? Do they help you? Do they bring you joy? And I know that sounds so cliche, but if you have things in your home that you don't use, that are duplicates, that are broken, that are trash, if you have those in your home, you'll never win the battle against living clutter-free. So the first thing again is to reduce your possessions. Go ahead and focus on decluttering, and you will thank yourself because it will help you then be able to manage the things that you do have. If you don't know where to start with decluttering, I have a free checklist you can download. I'll put it in a link below where you can go through room by room, and I give you some easy suggestions on things to grab in each of the spaces that will help you get a kickstart. And once you get that kickstart and get rolling, everything seems to come together and you just are motivated to do more and more. Go ahead and grab that checklist and see if that will help you out. Okay, the second secret is to ensure that everything has a home and it's in its home. And you may have heard me say this before, but this is fundamental and key to keeping a house that's clutter-free. For us, before we were able to calm the clutter in our house, we had stuff all over the place and people didn't know where to put things when they were done with them. If you think about your silverware drawer, in most households, there's a designated drawer for where silverware goes, and if somebody wants a fork, they know where to go, and if there's somebody wants to put a fork away, they know where to put it. That should be the same for all of our possessions and our belongings. If somebody wants a hat, they know where to get it. If somebody wants to put their gloves away, they should know where to put it, or their backpack when they get home from school or from work. Or if you have shoes, there should be a designated place on where they go. The same goes for paperwork. If you have something that needs to be actioned on, not today, but later, where does it go? Where's the inbox for putting things that need to be taken action on later, like a bill that has to be paid? What'll happen is if there isn't a home for those things, they'll just get set down and left, and things pile up, and it never fails that it just turns into an area you don't even want to deal with because it's just too overwhelming. The other thing that happens is if you're looking for some tape, for a project, or a stapler or a pen, and if it doesn't have a designated place where you can go and find that thing, you'll go buy another one. So then before you know it, you've got 6 things of tape, or you've got pins scattered all over the house. For some things, that could be very expensive if you're talking about batteries for a camera or sporting equipment or anything like that. So make sure that everything that you have has a home and everybody knows where to put their things and find them. This one is fundamental, and without this, it is very difficult to live clutter-free. Okay, in that last tip, I mentioned that everything should have a home and everything should be in its home. So when it's in its home, make sure that you are maximizing storage for your belongings. You want to make sure that you're maximizing your vertical space, you're utilizing any space that you have under your bed, and don't underestimate where you can store things. I used to store my camera equipment and everything in an underbed storage solution that I loved. It was so easy. I pulled it out, everything was there. I've also done that with my Cricut supplies. If you use a Cricut, there's tons of stuff. There's the vinyl and the cardstock, the machines itself, the cutting tools, everything. I've utilized underbed storage solutions, and they're great. Another thing I've done is my daughter's art supplies. I implemented implemented a storage solution and made sure that everything was labeled and everything was easy for her to use and access. Think outside the box and make sure that when you're designating these homes, making sure you put the right solutions in place and don't forget to label things. Okay, I'm generally not popular for this secret, but this one is so important. You need to limit your new purchases. Make sure that when you're looking to purchase something that you really need it, and that you make sure that when you purchase something and bring it home, that you've already thought about where it's going to be stored. Where's its home? Is it replacing something? Or are you now adding something new? If you're adding something new, that's great, but make sure that you're designating space, and that might mean getting rid of something else to make room for it. And the beauty of this is that works. You can do that. You get to make your own decisions and decide what gets priority. But the most important thing is that you always make sure that whatever you bring into the house has a home designated for it before you do it. And I highly suggest, I know it's hard to do, is that whenever you're thinking about a purchase, sit on it. Make sure, take a couple days if you can to really think, is this a wise decision? Do I really need this extra candle? Do I need this extra chair? Do I need these 3 extra sweaters or this jacket or this pair of shoes? I get it. Trust me, I love to shop too, and it's tempting, but just make sure you're consciously asking yourself, do I need this? Do I want it? Do I love it? And does it have a home? Okay, now it's time to talk about the next tip, which is develop daily habits. And these can be very small, micro habits. It doesn't have to be anything big. It starts with making your bed in the morning. It can be, wiping down the kitchen counters to make sure they're cleared and clean for you for your day. Another small habit that I really like to implement, my husband's great about this as well, is, if we're making some tea or heating some water or making lunch, we'll do the few dishes and try to just stay on top of them. These little habits stack up and really make a difference in our home. If you can implement these small habits throughout your day or in the morning or in the evening, if you work outside of the home or whatever you do, if you can make these little habits, they will definitely make all the difference in your attempt to living clutter-free. And they're fundamental. You have to stay on top of things. If you think that I live in this pristine clutter environment, that is not the truth, right? Counters can get stuff piled up on them, but the difference is that I make sure that I quickly clean them up and don't let them get out of hand. If things piled up and they didn't get addressed, the next morning I'm trying to address it, right? Or having other people help me address it, right? You don't have to be the only one putting these tiny habits in place. All of your family can be doing that, or your roommates, whoever you live with. Identify which habits you want and develop those so that you can stay clutter-free, and it's not an enormous task. These little things stacked up make all the difference. Okay, the final thing that I'll note is that it's really important that you live intentionally. I'm not suggesting you adopt a minimalist lifestyle, though there are things about a minimalist lifestyle that really resonate with, somebody who wants to live a clutter-free life. Living more simplified, reducing the number of things that we have, not keeping things in our homes because of guilt. If somebody gave you a gift and you received it, it's not something that you want, and all it is taking up space and making your house cluttered. Get rid of it, let it go, give it to somebody else or donate it, but don't keep things out of guilt. The same thing applies to if you bought something and spent some money and it has value, sell it, get rid of it if it doesn't serve you. Don't feel guilty. And I think that's something that weighs on a lot of people when they start to declutter and want to live a clutter-free life. They start to look at things and then they feel guilty giving it away. If you want to take a picture with the item so you don't forget it, but then let it go. Or, find ways of being able to make sure that you have the memory, but let possessions go and don't keep things out of guilt. I hope these tips helped and will help you live a more intentional and clutter-free life. Comment below and let me know which of these tips helped you, or if you have another tip that I didn't bring up that might help others. Okay, I hope some of those help and you're able to put some of those tips and habits in place very soon. If you're looking to create a plan for decluttering your house, whether it's over the next month, 3 months, 6 months, even a year, check out this video I have on the screen. It will help you put a realistic plan together, make sure you don't fall for any of the common mistakes that people make, and you'll be able to kick clutter to the curb for good. Bye.